Well, there isn't very much so far. Do you still want me to come by after I've finished?
Since the man's still at large, yes.
Still at large.
Police made contact with him, shot at him. They lost him in the fog, but they think they wounded him.
Well, that should ease the panic. Convince people that there isn't a waxen dummy running around wild.
What is running around wild, Frank, and why?
That's a good question.
The first person attacked was Peter Willman. What does that do for us?
That gives us a direction.
Mr. Reed's office? Yes, sir.
What's the latest report on the condition of Peter Willman?
Critical. He's still unconscious.
Anything else?
A man named James Rancourt wanted to reach Mike. He said that he heard the news when he left the library earlier. He was Willman's partner. I referred him to police headquarters.
Thanks, Miss Case. There's got to be an answer somewhere.
Well, it started in Willman's museum.
Yeah, and maybe that's where it will end. See if you can locate the light switch. Yes, and the clothes are damp.
There are many legendary figures of evil in the Orient. Some people say they are often driven back to action by their own malevolence.
Who is this James Rancourt who wrote this?
He's Willman's partner in the museum. Does research and lectures on the tours. There's one piece of information in there that interests me. Vina Rose, the burlesque queen that the Scarf used to date.
Well, finding a stripper who worked this town 10 or 15 years ago is like finding a wide-open back entrance to Fort Knox.
Yeah, but I found her. Our entertainment editor called a booking agent. He remembered her. Her real name is Hazel Smith. She lives in a small apartment in the Chelsea district.
What you want to talk to me about?
Who is the Scarf? What was his real name?
I don't know. You see, he always just sort of showed up, and he never made no passes.
Then why did he keep coming back?
Beats me. Unless... maybe it was 'cause I was a good listener, you know? I used to walk into my room, see? And there he'd be. Just sitting in the dark. He had a great big bottle of cold champagne and caviar, just as black as the inside of your pocket, and those little tiny crispy crackers. And then he'd start to talk. I tell you, he could just talk your arm right off the shoulder, and you loved it.
About completely ruthless murders.
No. No, never. We never talked about that, and I never believed he did any of them things. He always treated me just like a queen.
He was a murderer once. He could be again.
No, and anyway, I know he's dead. I know it. But he would have come to see me again if he hadn't been dead, and he never did.
Have you ever been to the Wax Museum and seen the figure they have of him there?
No, I couldn't stand it.
When was the last time that you saw him?
Well, I was leaving the Burley house, and I was going to go to a hamburger joint to get a hamburger. It was after the midnight show, so it was late. It always was late when I seen him. And when I come out of the stage door, there he was. He was outside in a car waiting for me. He said he was going away because he was going to be immortal, so people would never forget him all those years. That's what he wanted, he said. Well, then he dropped me by the hamburger joint, and well, that was it.
And you still couldn't believe about the robberies and the murders?
I tell you, he treated me like a queen, like a queen!
Mr. Reed?
That's right.
I'm James Rancourt.
Mr. Rancourt, have a seat. How would you like to make $1,000 for a day or two's work?
I'd like to make $1,000, Mr. Reed, but I'm not aware of anything I could do to earn it.
Mr. Axford tells me that you're the researcher for the Wilman Museum.
Yes, and his partner. It has been a long and fruitful association.
And you'd made a thorough study of the scarf.
Yes. I had hoped to publish a book on the man. I found him fascinating. He was quite peculiar in his invincibility.
How do you feel about the scarf being at large tonight?
Oh, I shudder. But I fear we shall have to accept what people have seen.
Good. Make that the tone of your article. Is your research material readily accessible?
The main body of it is at the museum.
Fine. I'd like for you to go through the Sentinel's files and select some pictures to go with your article. Then you can pick up your research material. It's always good to give photographic proof to your readers.
Mr. Reed, unfortunately, I'm not a very fast typist.
Mr. Rancourt, we have a lot more typists here than we have researchers.